Good afternoon. My name is Niko House, host of the political radio show Mikasa Sukasa, and I urge you all to join our One Follow, $1 campaign where we show the mainstream media that we will no longer be putting up with their nonsense. Sorry for the long leave of absence. I had to help a friend in need throughout the weekend, and we were able to get that done. So thank you all so much for those of you who worked overtime to ensure that my friend could be taken care of. You know who you are, but now it's back to business. So the situation with Charlottesville was absolutely ridiculous. It was absolutely suspicious as well. And now don't get me wrong. So let me explain this. For those of you who are deflecting and saying, oh, Soros or BLM does this. First of all, I do agree that it does look orchestrated. And given the information that we found thus far, I would 100% believe, or at least 90% believe that it is orchestrated. There's nothing really, I'm not going to dispute that at all. However, what was not orchestrated was the reactions from some of those who are condoning the hatred, saying that those protesters or those counter-protesters should have been run over, Nazism being practiced across the country. That stuff is not orchestrated as far as like somebody's paying for it to exist. That stuff is real. Racism is real. These people who are actual Nazis or neo-Nazis or racists or white supremacists, these people are employed. They do employ other people. They get to decide whether someone is fired or hired. These are police officers. These are teachers. I go over this regularly. So we can't pretend like these issues are not a problem and that we can't deal with. We can call that protest or that violence orchestrated while still acknowledging that any defense of it is detestable. Okay, so that's one thing. But I am not silly. I am not naive to the fact that, and I've been paying attention to this, but you notice that we haven't heard much about Russia since Saturday, right? After that little breaking and entering, that warranted breaking and entering that was committed by Mueller and the FBI into Trump's campaign manager's house, which they're probably going to get sued for. We haven't heard much about Russia. All we've been hearing about is Charlottesville, neo-Nazi. And apparently now, racism never existed before Donald Trump. Like I said, when I was beat by 6 police officers in Greenville, North Carolina, and they chipped my tooth, I have a cap on my tooth now. Racism was still here and Donald Trump was not in office. When I was pulled over while I was driving on snow and I was called boy, all kinds of everything but the N-word, and given a fine for driving on snow, and then I slid on ice, and they said I was driving recklessly and endangering and tried to take my license away because of snow in the neighborhood going 25 miles per hour. Trump was not president then. The disparities of minorities versus non-minorities existed before Donald Trump became president. Now, we can say that he amplified it, and I agree that tensions may have been amplified, but let's be honest. Tensions were amplified while Obama was in office. Mostly because for most of his presidency, he was complicit and refused to address it because he was scared to piss off Republican voters in the Republican House and Senate. But I know a distraction when I see one. We can't pin all of racism on Donald Trump. He says some ignorant things. His response is insufficient. I condemn violence on all sides and bigotry on all sides. Now, there's only one side that's violent and bigoted. So that was wrong. He didn't do that correctly. Then he went on to say, I condemn white supremacy today. However, like I said, racism didn't start with Donald Trump. But however, we see the mainstream media once again making everything about Donald Trump, making Charlottesville about Donald Trump. Just like they made Russia, that was about Hillary and John Podesta, the DNC, Christopher Steele, Fusion GPS, Juul, the energy company, all those people and groups, they made that about Trump too. They made Charlottesville about Donald Trump. I'm telling you, I've seen KKK rallies in North Carolina and Donald Trump was not in office. Well, they didn't call him KKK rallies. They would call them other things. But yeah, I'm curious to know your opinions on this. I 100% believe the violence was orchestrated to some degree. I think that the organization part of the rally probably was not orchestrated by any, back behind the scenes figures. However, the violence that took place, the weirdness of, and like the protesters being led from a peaceful side to Antifa, where they were attacked, which was kind of weird to me. I don't understand why they moved them. They were moved into a cul-de-sac apparently, and they were like locked in there and blocked in. So all that's suspect to me. We don't even have to get into the Soros or the Koch brothers situation or the dark money. We always know there's dark money behind any type of protest that's that well organized and that televised. Hey, but I do want to say one thing. Thank you all to the allies that have been speaking out against white supremacy, because that is absolutely still necessary. Speaking out against racism and racial acts, speaking out against these neo-Nazis. Thank you so much, because these conversations are extremely important. And we do need people who aren't minorities or are white or are Christian or are conservative. It is important for you all to say, hey, I will not tolerate racism. I will not tolerate anti-Semitism or Nazism, white supremacism, things like that. It matters. I know some people think, oh, well, I shouldn't have to say that. No, it matters. It does. In a system where this type of behavior is trying to, and making an attempt to become normalized, through various avenues, whether it be social media, at work, people being threatened for using their First Amendment rights. We should thank those who come out and do the right thing and say no. I don't know what right they're part of, but they're not part of our conservative values, or even on the left when they see violence, that they condemn that as well. I'm not saying that all violence is unnecessary, but unnecessary violence, yeah, we have to condemn that as well. So thank you all so much for watching. Always remember, find your balance. Peace.